وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله Khatam Nabiyyin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That is, I give open and sound witness that nothing is worthy of worship except Allah. He is one alone with our partners and associates. And I also give open and sound witness that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a slave, servant, messenger, and seal of all the prophets. Peace be upon the prophet, upon his descendants, upon his companions, and upon the righteous throughout the world. And peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. Jumuah Mubarak. And we say Jumuah Mubarak and we give the greetings. The Quran teaches us that we go higher. See? That's why you hear additions to Assalamu alaikum. We're praying for more. See, because that is a prayer. When we give this greeting, it's not just, a greeting of how you doing. It's a real serious greeting of the prayer that Allah's peace be on your life. That's a big thing right there. We say, Assalamu alaikum upon you, may Allah's peace be. And then when the greetings are given of wa alaikum salam, and unto you be Allah's peace. Now we want that and more. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. And not only his peace, but now may his blessings be upon you. His mercy be upon you. So the Quran teaches us that when we're giving the greetings, we give it the same level or higher. And what we want for each other is we want more. So we should always want more. That I want more from Allah to flow into your life. And when you look at the world, you see why there's a need for this prayer of peace. And then when we extend this greeting, we also reminding each other of our obligation to promote peace. See, we live in a world where you see there's so much unrest, problems throughout the world, that the human being is in dire need. He's in hunger for peace. Troubled souls, no respect for people. I mean, there's a time when there's great admiration for senior citizens. There's major senior citizen abuse. In fact, it's on the rise. So this is why we pray that Allah's peace be on you. Because you're going to leave and move into a troubled world, a strange society. We live in a strange time. Strange times with strange behavior. So this greeting is very, very significant. And it's not just the peace, I want peace from you, but I'm saying that the peace that only comes from the source of peace. See, Allah is As-Salam, that's his attribute. He's As-Salam, he's the source of peace. So we pray that the peace that comes from Allah be on your life in whatever you do. So as you leave and you endeavor on your journey, may Allah's peace be with you. So that greeting is very, very important for us to understand because Allah said that's the very nature of the human being. In fact, he says in the Quran that he named you Muslim both before and in this revelation. It's the very nature of the human being. He longs for peace. Longs for peace so much that Allah says in the Quran that one of you, if there's a conflict, and believers work to minimize the conflict, and if one is still aggressive, the Quran teaches that all of you go against the aggressor until he submits. That's how much we work for peace. That all the forces will make you realize that you are not in the proper space. And we work hard to maintain peace because where there's no peace, there cannot be growth. All the agitation, all the disruption, there's no progress. You have people who just blockers. And they block the progress. So our mission is to promote peace because that's the very nature that Allah made for us. So we naturally gravitate towards peace. All right? So we give the greeting, we say that may the peace that comes from As-Salam, the source of peace, be on your life. And where there's no peace, there can be no progress. So we work for the sake of establishing peace because peace gives us the best climate for the expression of life. If you have a peaceful environment, that means human beings can interact. If you have a peaceful environment, that means that creativity can flow. We work to establish peace. As we read in the Quran, Allah tells us that, and it's a very powerful verse, like all the verses in the Quran. But he teaches us that he is the one who listens to everyone who calls on him. I want to read this particular verse where Allah tells us about not only that he listened to us, but that we should listen to him. Now there's two different processes when we think about listening. See, a lot of people just hear things. And hear things is just a natural response to sound. That's all hearing is. You can hear. You hear the noise, you hear the sound, you hear the footsteps, but there's no real attention in hearing because it's an unconscious process. So as you sit here, you hear cars riding back and forth. You hear that. But now listening is a whole different process because listening means I'm giving my focus to that experience. I'm listening to the sound with attention. I'm listening to what the person is saying with attention. I'm giving you my attention. I'm giving you my focus. I'm focusing on what is being said. So Allah says that we should listen to him. But he said that he listens to every supplement that calls on him. He hears everything that we say. And now, likewise, we should listen to him. So here's the verse. When my servants ask you concerning me, I am indeed close to them. I listen to the prayer of every suppliant when they call on me. Let them also with the will listen to my call and believe in me, that they may walk in the right way. So here's the verse where Allah says, it's only intelligent that we listen to him. See, because if he's Al-Khaliq, he's the creator, he knows everything that we need. And if we call on him, he says, I listen to what you say. Allah said, no, I listen to your plea. And then he gives you what you need on his time, not always when you want it. Because he's always on time with what he gives, but he said that we should listen to him. See, some people, they just not listen to Allah. They don't listen to the guidance. They don't listen to the message. And that's why the adhan is so important. The adhan shows us why it is important to listen to the call. Because the call itself knocks on the conscience of the human being, letting us know what's important. And the first part of that call establishes what's important in your life. Not the things that you have, not even your life itself, but the sustainer of that life is most important. That's why that call begins with establishing the fact that Allahu Akbar, he's greater. Whatever your concern, whatever your challenges may, he said that he is the greatest force in the entire creation. So much that the Quran says, wa dhikr Allahu Akbar, and the remembrance of Allah is the greatest thing in life. There's nothing you can focus your attention on more significant, more powerful than you to think on Allah. Wa dhikr Allahu Akbar. So this call adhan is really the knock on the conscience of the human being, allowing the priorities to set in. The first priority that I have to establish that Allah is greatest in my life. He's greater than my challenges. In fact, he's greater than my pain. He's so great that he said that he'll make a way for you where you thought there could never be a way. You got troubled times today. He'll pull you through. He'll make a way for you when you couldn't even see your way through it. Because he's the merciful benefactor, the merciful Redeemer. So that call, he said, and listen to me. Not only just listen to my call and believe in me. We've been teaching about why this belief is so important. Believe in me. That when you have real strong belief, the possibilities in your life is unlimited for you as an individual. That's why I said, therefore, believe in me. He is going to secure your life, no matter how troublous it may be. He said he's the one that will secure the life. So we listen to Allah. And if we really believe in him, if we believe that in his system is the guidance we need to push us through towards our destiny. Because he said that when he creates, he gives everything a destiny. It has a beginning and it has an ending. And between those 2 points is life. Between those 2 points of starting and ending is all those experiences. And as you have those experiences, there's going to be other calls coming towards you to move you from your destiny. That's why Allah says that listen to my call. Because these other calls are distracting calls. These other calls are disruptive calls that can pull you from Allah himself. There's a powerful verse where Allah asks the question, "O man, what has seduced you from your evolver the great?" See, what force have you allowed to pull you from the one who's sustaining your life, the one who's allowing you to grow and evolve to the highest expressions of your humanity? Oh man, what has seduced? You know what seduction is? Seduction is there's step by step all these different phases people go through to pull you from something. And Shaitan is working to seduce, to hypnotize, to pull you from the force that allows you to grow and evolve and get the most from your life. So Allah says here, so he said, let them also, say, I listen to them, but let them also, with the will. That's why I'm showing you the difference between listening and hearing. Let them with the will listen to my call. That means let them focus on what is coming to them from me. And he said when they listen to the call and believe in me, he said they'll walk in the right way. But these other calls, brothers and sisters, will have you walking in the wrong direction. They have you walking away from your destiny. But as long as we listen to what Allah is calling us to through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we will experience, as he then ultimately tells us, falah. You know what falah is? You hear the beautiful call, hayya ala salah. Come to prayer, which gives you the discipline you need. That's what salat does. Salat gives you the discipline and the focus you need to progress in the world. That's why salat is so important, because first of all, the salat is the connection you have with the life giver. So when you connect to that force, then he gives you the fuel you need to move forward with your life. So salat gives you the focus, it gives you the regulation, it gives you the discipline that will then prepare you for hayya ala falah. You know how hayya ala falah is? You have to prepare for that. Haya means come live. Your spirit has to be up. You can't be more excited about death than you is about life. Some people are more excited in the dead world than they are when they come to Al-Islam. They give more of a conviction to death than they do life. That's why the verse says, the cause says, Haya, come lively, bring that energy. Haya let salat, come lively to worship Allah. Why should you come to worship Allah with a low spirit? That you see praying to Allah as a burden. When in fact, prayer does something for your spirit when you understand the power of salat. It gives you the order in your life. Don't you know you don't pray how you want to pray? When you make salat, there's a discipline, there's an order, there's structure. Whether you're praying by yourself, you move at a command of who is greater, Allahu Akbar. You move on Allahu Akbar. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. You're not all over the place when you pray. Some people, they pray all over, they lose consciousness. You don't worship Allah like that. When you pray, you focus it because I got this relationship with the Quran. I'm reciting the Quran. You understand? When you make salat, you reciting the Quran. So that has my clear focus. I'm listening to the words of Allah. That's why this verse, he said, let them listen to me. You, the Imam, recite the Quran. And then you move on the hearing of the greatest force, Allahu Akbar. That's when you move. So salat gives you structure. The same structure you need in your life. The same organization you need to prosper in the world. So it says, Hayya ala salat, come lively to prayer, which prepares you to be excited about salat. Now I want you to understand what salat is. That's why the verse is called Aflaha Mu'minun, that the believers will prosper. Don't you know that's what Allah wants for you? That Allah doesn't want you broke, dependent upon other people. Because Allah says in the Quran that man gets nothing but what he strives for. That man, the human being, gets nothing but what he engaged himself in the process of struggle. That in order for you to prosper, you got to get the climate right. Because the same word that's used for prosperity is the same word that's used for the farmer that gets the soil ready to receive the seed. If you understand farming, the farmer is about timing. He just don't plant the seed anytime. He plants the seed upon the right time, the right climate. And the soil has to be fertile. So in order for you to prosper, you got to be involved in some work. You gotta till the soil. You gotta make sure that soil is getting sunlight, it's getting water, it's nourished. And then you plant that seed, you have to protect that seed, the interest. There's other forces, the weeds that will come and choke the life out of that growing plant. That's how you have to look at your life. There's enemies to your success. There's enemies to your prosperity. There are outside forces that's working to choke the life out your body. There's forces working to undermine what you may be engaged. That's why Allah says, let them listen to me, to my call, and believe in me, that they may walk right. So that is the ultimate goal. It's prosperity. That the believers, if you understand the role of the believer, is to realize and recognize their position in the world. Allah clearly tells us that he made the human being to be Khalifa fil ard, the ruler in the earth. And it is this Quran that gives us the methodology of how to make that possible. That we should be leaders in the world. If the Quran is the final revelation, it is guidance, Huda, we should be leaders in the world. Leaders in technology, leaders in science, leaders in business, leaders in government. Because Allah already said He made you the ruler in the earth. You have to assume your responsibility and assume your rightful position in the earth. And whatever you're engaged in, you should be pursuing mastery. You shouldn't be pursuing mediocre and being average. I don't care what you're engaged in. Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the believer, when they believe in endeavor task, they endeavor any task, they seek excellence. Excellence means that you're moving to excel. You shouldn't be average. You shouldn't specialize and settle in being average. Whatever you're engaged in, you should be forefront. I was reading a verse in the Quran where Allah talks about how He created the human being. And it was interesting that Allah talks about this word we talk of, nas, this social being, that the Quran is huda linas. It is guidance for not the Muslim, not even guidance for the believer. This verse clearly says it is guidance for linas. Linas means it is guidance for the social being. This human being that Allah created. Without Him even saying that He's a believer, without her saying she's a Muslim, He said it is guidance for this certain type of human being, this social being, who understand the power of building relationships that will help to advance the world. That man sees himself, if he reads this Quran, he sees himself as a global being. He doesn't see himself as a human being that's just confined to America. He sees himself, or she sees himself as a citizen of the earth. That no matter where they go, they see themselves as members of that society. He said it's guidance for linas. Huda linas. Because Allah talks about not only just He create this human being, this social being who understands the power of socializing and building relationships, but He also talks about from what He created, He said, now I'm making a certain type of human being. And there's two words, we're going to get into the verse. The word khalaqa, He creates, and then from what He creates, ja'alnakum. He's making something from what He created. And that verse has everything to do with the uniqueness of all these human beings Allah put on earth. Just like if you study fish, there's all kind of fish. There's all color fish swimming in pools. There's all kind of animals. And these animals have some distinction, although they're animals. All fish are not the same. All plants are not the same. All these plants, they have healing properties. But it's a plant. All kind of colors. But they have some uniqueness about them. Because there's one pattern, there's one DNA. There's one line that leads us all back to Adam. In fact, Allah said we Bani Adam, we're the children of Adam. There's a line that takes all human beings back to Adam. DNA, genetically, that's the lifeline. So Allah says He created a human being from a single pair of a male and female. That's how He created us, from that combination. But from that creation, He made another being. Here's a human being, then there's a culture being, there's an ethnic being. He made all these nations and tribes that he talked about in the Quran. But there's one human type. Study the human being, they got the same ears, eyes, same makeup. But then there's something inside all of those human beings that gives them their distinction in the world. That's why he said you have a world community. That when Allah created human being, he just didn't give everybody the same deposit. Each group has something distinct to bring to the world to advance humanity. That's why when you see the ideal of the coronavirus, see now the world community is involved in working to solve a problem. See, now they see themselves as members of the world, not just America, but the world is involved in solving what could potentially be a global problem. See, Allah said that he places all over the world. That's why he said travel. When you travel, you learn from different people. But there's one form of creation that we call human. But what he deposited in that human being is quite different from other human beings. That's why Hajj teaches us a powerful lesson. Hajj teaches us about what it means to be a human being. And one of the problems of the human being is they judge each other too much. And they judge each other based on external things as opposed to what is internal. They don't judge a man based on character, spirit. They judge people based on what they have and what they don't have. And then they classify you. Upper class, lower class, middle class, broke, poverty. All these classifications. But the Hajj itself is an equalizer. It puts the human being on the same level before Allah as a servant. And that's why they put on the Ikram, they put on the white cloth that gives no distinction. You don't know the millionaire, the billionaire from the broke man. All you see is a human being. And then you deal with that human being based on min nafsin wahid, based on what the Quran said, from one soul. And there's a soul-to-soul connection, not a thing connection, not because we have the same kind of car, not because we got the same kind of shoe, we got the same kind of business, no, because we are human beings with the same soul. And that's the message the world has to get. That there's one soul. And when we start respecting that one soul, we have more peace in the world. But people are judging based on what somebody has and what they don't have. But they don't see human being. And when we get to human being, we'll find a better world. So here's the verse of the Quran where Allah clearly talks about how he made the human being. He made the human being, created the human being, and then from what he created, he said he created or generated something different. Allah says here in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nasu, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum. Here's the verse here where Allah says, O human being, we have created you from a single pair of a male and a female. All of us have the masculine and the feminine energy in our body. Male, female. But he also says here that the male is not like the female. There's a big distinction. What Allah blessed the male with to operate, to build in society, to protect and to defend society, to establish your life, to protect your life, to have great imagination, to be builders of civilization, that's quite different from the female, who shows the compassion, who shows the nurturing spirit. He said the male is not like the female. And although both of those forces, both of those powers are in all of us, they must be in the right environment to be expressed. So he says, verily, he created you from a male and a female, and then he says, and then he made you into nations and tribes for the very purpose of getting to know one another. Now, why would Allah emphasize getting to know one another? Tribes. I hear sometimes Muslims say, you know, I'm not black. I'm just a Muslim. I'm not into none of that.
Go ahead.
What the Quran clearly talks about, Allah said He made you distinct. He didn't make the Malaysian like the African. He didn't make the Pakistani like the Arab. He made you distinct, and then you have to become comfortable in your distinction. Doesn't make you better, doesn't make you less. Allah said He made you different. And He made you different for the purpose of food, that you become acquainted with one another. See, that becomes a problem, where people don't want to get to know each other. I'm into my world as a group, and you into your world as a group. And there's not much of interaction. So you can work to advance civilization, to advance humanity. That you have to be comfortable in getting to know other people. So you're going to build a community, you have to get comfortable in getting to know other people. So I listen to people say, you know, I'm not into that, you know, culture stuff. I'm not into, you know, ethnicity. I'm just a Muslim. I said, well, you just told me that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an Arab. Didn't you tell me that? See, Prophet Muhammad is Arab. The Quran tells you that. But yet I'm not into none of that. See, as a group, you done disqualified yourself of being a member of the global society that has distinction. That's why I told you, see, the world is involved in solving world problems, because the world sees that I have something unique to add to this program. That's why you have world economies. There's all kind of trade. Some countries are known for real live minerals that they sell to other parts of the world. It's only in that part of the world that you'll find those natural resources. Yeah. But if you don't get to know each other, you won't find the value that you can bring to the table of civilization. So Allah says, and He made you into nation and tribe. And He used the word Hadi food, that you become acquainted with one another. You get to know one another. And if someone is getting to know you, that means you have value to bring to that situation. So Allah said there must be an exchange of information. And this word lita'arafu food, it's the same word that is used for arafat. You ever mean Hajj? It's the same word that's used for arafat. It means to become acquainted, to get to know, to share information. See, because the more you know, the more effective you be. And I'm going to tell you one thing, you don't know what you don't know. There's so much data out there. You don't know what you don't know. So Allah said that you get to know one another. That you get to know one another, and that the best of you is the one who has power. Not the one who has social status, not the one who has things, but the best of you is the one who is conscious of Allah, and as they become conscious of Allah, they're going to work to preserve the value of Allah's creation, because that's what taqwa is all about. Taqwa literally means to protect and to preserve. You have to preserve the uniqueness Allah gave you. Not feeling inferior. Because even in the farewell address of Muhammad the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he addressed the issues that the world will be confronted with. So much that he said there's no superiority over an Arab over non-Arab. Now why would Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, have to say that? Now let me tell you one thing. That wasn't the first address. It wasn't his third address. It was the farewell address. His last message, he told the world there's no superiority because of ethnicity. There's no superiority because of this so-called royal bloodline. The superiority is in your consciousness of Allah, highly glorified. That's what makes you better. That's what gives you your distinction in the world. Not because of things, not because of color, not because of ethnic origin, but because of your Allah consciousness. And if we have more people who are pursuing and advancing taqwa, we're going to have a better world. Because it is the protection of Allah, the consciousness of Allah, that preserves the life itself. If you lack taqwa, you can move towards self-destruction. But taqwa is a powerful voice. This verse said, verily the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is the one who has taqwa, and Allah has full knowledge and is well acquainted with all things. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. So the Quran is clear on the distinction of human beings. We are in what is known as Black History Month, African American History Month, and it's important for those who don't know to understand what that really means. Because Allah said He made you into nations and tribes. And the African American History Month is to bring the awareness of a group of people who have been stripped of the knowledge of themselves. See? Who have been conditioned to feel less than. That's why the prophet said there's no superiority. So if you're addressing the issue of superiority, you're also addressing the issue of inferiority. That there are groups of people who have been conditioned to feel inferior. You understand? You got to deal with facts. You got to deal with truth. And Prophet Muhammad clearly lets us know who he is. He is an Arab. We understand that. And I want you to know, like I've talked to any of my brothers here who come from a land, they understand I'm a Pakistani. But the reason why the issue for African Americans, he has no linkage to a country. In fact, he had very little awareness of Africa in terms of being his origin.
Come on now.
And that's why I will tell you why this verse is so important. That Allah said, He made you into nations and tribes for the purpose of you getting to know one another. Now, in order for someone to get to know you, you have to know yourself. I hope you understand what I'm saying here. I hope you understand what I'm saying here.
Yes, sir.
In order for someone to get to know you, you must know yourself. And one thing about the slave process is that the slave was conditioned to dislike himself. And the whole process of slavery wasn't just brutal physical. The end result was a psychological force that will allow people to determine where you will go. Don't you know when you create something, you know how it operates? You can determine where it will go. So as a human being is brutalized and broken down, over time, there's no physical captivity. There's a psychological condition that is perpetuated and fed to other beings, allowing them to feel dependent on other people to do for them that which they can do for themselves. So there's always a need for racial pride. Allah makes it very clear that the best of you is not from your ethnicity, but the best of you is the one who has taqwa. And when we promote taqwa, we preserve ethnicity. When we promote taqwa, we preserve culture if that culture is in line with al-Islam. There's one verse where Allah clearly says He made your languages and your colors different as a sign. That's what Allah did. See, when you read the Quran, you will begin to see that Allah is talking about how you advance the world. And you advance a society by allowing people to see what they can bring to the table of civilization. You bring your distinction to the world. And when you bring your distinction to the world, you'll find it's a better place to live. So we thank Allah, highly glorified as He, for giving us life. We thank Allah for allowing us to depend on Him, that He will comfort us. He will give us the strength no matter what the troubling times may be. He will give us all that we need to move forward in our life. And realize that whatever your storm may be, He'll make a way for you where you thought there could never be a way. No matter how disastrous things may be, He'll pull you through because He is the all-knowing and the all-powerful that is moving you towards your destiny. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وإن كان السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة